Alright, I'm ready for all the Hopsin is the corniest rapper alive comments and people saying, did the man who invented college go to college, which by the way isn't a bad line. You're just taking it out of context for a meme, but nonetheless I expect it. Because today, I'm going to be telling you my favourite Hopsin songs of all time. Now I've become quite critical about Hopsin, more than I ever have been before recently, because in all honesty, he does sound a lot better when you're younger. And I started listening to him when I was 13, but I'm 18 now, so I've started to see his flaws a bit more. However, I will always listen to and respect his music, so today we will be counting down the 10 best songs from the second rapper I ever fully listened to, Hopsin. Now this video was co-created with my Patreon supporter SpiritRider25, also known on Twitter under the handle @DavidConley16. So go and give him a follow on Twitter for helping me out with this video. But that being said, this is CDTVProductions, and let's get right into this list.
Fully automatic weapon wrapped around the shoulder. You can say that boy look like T2. I'm popping at you, dropping. You better get to the chopper. My chopper will leave you looking see-through. Ayy, trying to get my pockets on Schwarzenegger. Why you hating player? Cause the Russell and the roll, they look at Himalaya. And I still ain't did.
Now real quick, if you guys like the song I used in the intro there's a link to it in the description. It's by a rapper I've talked to a lot recently called Rags, and the song name is T2. I know it doesn't have much to do with this video, but I really like the song, so if you like it, click on that link in the description and show him some love. Thanks guys. And at number 10, we have It's All Good Now, which is found on the Haywire mixtape.
You slipped up like you done stepped into an oil leak. Now you got me heated up and boiling. You the definition of loyalty. Probably plotting how to go destroy the city.
This track was released before Raw, but depicted very well the direction that Hopsin would take with that album. Hopsin is very personal on this song and talks about a friend of his called George that eventually fell out with Hopsin due to George leaking his music as Hop got bigger. It showed Hopsin's Eminem style of humour with how he handled the lyrics, and I think it was a pretty funny track, but you could tell the situation also really pissed him off. It's slightly lower quality than the other tracks on here and has a somewhat amateur sound to it, but that's to be expected from a song earlier on in Hopsin's rap career. It was still pretty solid overall. And at number 9 we have Bout the Business, which has not been on an album yet but was released as a single in 2016.
What's my philosophy? How'd I get the world to rock with me? How'd I get this killer following? How'd I go from being known in Panorama City to being famous on boggling? Everyone's mine. I don't go to bed as early, I be up all night.
When this was released, a lot of people were very unsure about this new sound for Hopsin, as he was rapping over a beat much more influenced by trap beats, and this caused some people to instantly dislike it. However, I absolutely love this style change, and I pray Hopsin releases more tracks in this style in the future, because it sounds great for him, and is also more commercially appealing. Like, I know people that became Hopsin fans because of this song. He didn't sacrifice lyrics when rapping over a more commercial beat here, but his flow on the first verse is absolutely insane, and I love this track so much. Honestly, the only thing I wasn't really feeling was the hook, but that's an issue I have with a lot of Hop songs anyway. I even like the autotune parts on here. And at number 8, we have Sexy Cyber, which was found on his album Gazing at the Moonlight.
With a mess of clothes on the bed, trying on outfits. She's acting out how the day is probably gonna be like, hi Pete, I'm so glad we finally get to meet. She thinks to herself, I know what I should do.
Now I know by today's standards, this track sounds really low quality and quite dated, perhaps even corny. And to be fair, it kind of is, but I don't mind that from Hopsin. It doesn't change the fact that the story being told here is very impactful and true to reality. Essentially, as the title suggests, it tells the story of a young girl falling into the trap of an internet predator. It's a really intense track, and what makes it even worse is situations exactly like the one described here happen often. Again, I really don't like the hook on this one, but that's not really what this track is about. The story being told is gritty and fairly realistic, and I think it was a great attempt by Hopsin to speak on social issues earlier in his career. And at number 7, we have Hop Sinister, which was found on his album Knock Madness.
Shit, you don't know cause it ain't televised. This is war, gentlemen. My flow is filled with more venom than George Zimmerman in his car, chilling with a loaded 44, tucked into with drugs, fidgeting, itching.
This track has a very fitting title, as it is indeed sinister. The beat has a very menacing feel to it, and Hopsin's vocals here are loud and aggressive. He even has a really impressively crafted and kinda shocking line on here about George Zimmerman. Everything about this track is great, and I remember Hopsin actually getting really hyped about it on Twitter, saying this was one of his best songs, period. Now clearly I don't think it's his best because it's not number 1 on this list, but it's one of the best on Knock Madness. The flows on display are great, the lyrics are pretty solid with no corniness to be found, and it's just just so vicious and energetic that you can't help but get hyped to it. And at number 6 we have Caught in the Rain, which was also found on Knock Madness.
Yeah. Soon after I dropped Raw, the spotlight creeped up. I received love from fans throughout the world, yeah, it seems nuts. Is it God or could it be luck?
Anyone who closely followed Hopsin around the time of Knock Madness knew that he was really stressed out during that time period and was really putting the idea of him retiring out there. Now, whether his outbursts on Twitter were for publicity or not, it helped make tracks like this, where Hopsin discusses his struggles with becoming famous and how it affects his relationships and life as a whole. And he says a line on this track that goes, "I didn't think that it would come to this day. It's time to put my alter ego to the side and leave him stuck in his grave." That line really got to me because it almost convinced me that Hopsin was genuinely retiring. Luckily he didn't, but this track did a great job at showcasing his life not getting any easier with fame. And at number 5 we have FV Till I Die, which is the only track on here found on the Pound Syndrome album.
You see, I took a shot out of the glass of mischief. Made an album so raw the way you just had to get it. Every track explicit. I figured those of you who was in love with rap will listen and tell your parents that it's...
Now, while this track doesn't really ring true at all, as Funk Volume disbanded very shortly after the release of this track, I still think it was a good track overall. This told the whole story of how Funk Volume was assembled and how each member came to join the label. It's really cool as a massive fan of Funk Volume to hear how Hop came to hear about Dizzy and Jaren. I especially love the beat for this song, mainly because of that cut-off short synth sound. It adds a really nice melody to the whole thing. This was also one of SwizZ's best verses, and his voice didn't stand out to me as too grating on this one, which it does have a tendency to do. This was definitely one of the better tracks on the Pound Syndrome album, and in fact, in my opinion, the best from Pound Syndrome. And at number 4 we have I'm Not Introducing You, which was found on his album Raw.
I'm the rain that's like the shining sun, but I'll be a fool if I say you're the one, and I'll be the water that's raining down on the land.
I'm gonna be straight up and say I think this is one of the best beats that Hopsin has ever made. Of course, that's not the only reason I love it, but the classy sound to it and the pianos on here are absolutely beautiful. I remember I said in my Hopsin discography ranked video that those pianos actually brought me close to the point of orgasm, and that point still stands. This one was about less than respectable women who are trying to hook up with Hopsin just to get a piece of his money and fame. I think he handles it in a fairly comedic way, and the storytelling here is entertaining. It's another one of the songs that has a good hook on Raw, and was one of the best tracks from there, which is saying a lot because that is my favourite Hopsin album to date, despite it sounding a bit dated by today's standards. And at number 3 we have Mind of Hopsin 8, which was released as a single in 2016.
Ain't nobody tryna lift weights, we just wanna hit up the studio when it's rap and do shows, but you don't understand the culture of hip-hop. You a lame ass nigga, dame half the crew knows. New Age Jerry Heller, a scary fella, I hate your fucking...
This was an exceptional return to form from Hopsin after Pound Syndrome, which was, to me, an underwhelmingly mediocre project. This was really where Hopsin started to utilise more trap-style production, while still keeping an underground, raw sound to it. This track astounded me the first time I heard it, and I don't think Hopsin has sounded this hungry since Raw. This track was targeted at Funk Volume CEO Damian Ritter, and as a long-time Funk Volume fan, it was great to hear Hop's perspective on why they broke up. I understood every single line and got some parts that newer Hopsin fans might not catch. Also, the whole part leading up to and including the bless line is one of the most hype things I've ever heard. The build-up was just done so brilliantly. I know some people didn't like this one, as it marked the start of the so-called new Hopsin sound, but I loved it. And at number 2 we have You Are My Enemy, which was found on Raw.
But you never saw it from my perspective. The craft that I perfected got rejected and thrown out the window with no proper exit. I was humble, now I'm not as pleasant. I'm dropping records on your shady dynasty, but John...
This was Hopsin at his most pissed off, and I think we can all agree, Hopsin makes the best music when he is irritated at someone. Each verse here was aggressively targeted at a different person who did him wrong in his life, with the first one directed towards Ruthless Records owner and wife of Eazy-E, Tamika Wright, who didn't promote Hopsin at all while he was on the label. Then the second verse is aimed at a friend of Hopsin's, most likely the same one he talked about on All Good Now, who turned on him once he became famous. So it's most likely targeted at George, who he also talked about on It's All Good Now, the number 10 song on this list. Then the third and final verse, he targets at an ex-girlfriend of his called Morgan. He handles each verse with such passion and anger that it's hard not to be drawn in, and it is a really captivating track. The beat is great too, and I love the darkness of it and the way that the drums just roll off of each other. And I don't care what people say about Hopsin sucking at hooks, I love the one here. And at number 1 we have Mind of Hopsin 5, which was released in 2012 as a single.
To jump out of his seat, but still you out in these streets thinking you hot as can be, without the knowledge to lead, so you just follow the sheet, making sure your lame swag is all polished and clean, while your favorite rapper's like, yeah, he got it from me. You been.
This is the song that I feel like either made you fall in love with Hopsin's music or made you hate it. For me, it was the former. Some people found it to be too preachy, but I thought it amazingly touched on all the aspects of society that it was trying to get at. The verses talk about slackers, girls who get to the club expecting to find romance, and black people who get in violent situations just to seem tougher or for street cred. Then at the end, he ties it all together by saying rap music enforces this behavior through its popular lyrical themes. This is all done with Hopsin flowing amazingly over a simple but hard beat, and I genuinely feel like this is his most lyrically hard-hitting track. I remember listening to this back when it came out and I was around 13 years old. Me and my friend watched the video for the first time, sat there in silence, and then looked at each other like, god damn, that was insane. We listened to it so many times that day trying to learn the lyrics, and I feel like this was Hopsin's greatest release to date. I just have vivid memories of the first time I heard it, and it really had a big impact on me. So that is why Mind of Hopsin 5 takes this spot as my personal favorite Hopsin track that he has released so far. Well guys, that's going to be it for the video today. Again, massive shout out to my Patreon supporter, Spirit_Rider25, also known as David Conley16 on Twitter. Like I said, go and hit him up with a follow to thank him for helping me make this video. He actually created it with me, which you can also do if you support the I believe it's the $25 tier on my Patreon. So he did that, and hence him helping me create this video. Also, like I said, if you like the video at the start, if you like the song used in the intro of this video, there is a link to that in the description as well. It's by Rags, and it is called T2. Well guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you guys want to see next. The next video will most likely be a worst rappers in the game on Soulja Boy, as he was the most requested recently, and yeah, I know he's a bit irrelevant, but it'll be good to do someone that's not a new age rapper for once, because Soulja Boy is one of those classic terrible rappers. Not classic in the sense that he rapped in the 90s, like he's a more 2007 type guy, but he's definitely not a new age rapper, even though he has released music recently. So that should be interesting to do. That will hopefully be Friday, but I'm genuinely struggling to make it through his music, but I'll get there guys. With that being said, let me know if you have any video suggestions in the comments below. I'll be happy to take them on. I'm always looking for new video ideas, like I have a bunch of them stacked up, but just let me know and I'll be happy to make them. As always guys, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @CDTVProductions. It would be great to see more of you guys on there. If you want to contact me more directly, you can hit me up on there. And with all that being said guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the love, and this is CDTV Productions signing out.